The ballroom sparkled with chandeliers, the clinking of glasses, and the quiet hum of conversations. It was the annual corporate gala, the night when the CEO paraded his successes and reminded his employees how lucky they were to be under his rule. My husband, David, wasn't one for these events, but tonight he was by my side in a crisp black suit, calm and collected as ever. The CEO, Richard Harlow, was a man who thrived on control. He loved the sound of his own voice and the sight of others shrinking under it. And when his eyes landed on David, the husband of one of his department managers, he smirked like a predator spotting prey. After his speech, Richard made his way to our table. He placed a heavy hand on David's shoulder, his voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. So David, remind me again. What do you do for a living? Or are you still living off your wife's paycheck? The table chuckled nervously, the kind of laughter people use when they're too scared to go against the boss. My stomach tightened. Richard's words were sharp, designed to humiliate. He leaned closer, his grin widening. Must be nice, huh? Sitting back while she carries the weight. A real modern arrangement. My face flushed hot with anger, but David didn't flinch. He sat calmly, his glass of water in hand, eyes steady on Richard like he was nothing more than a buzzing fly. The silence stretched until even the CEO's grin began to falter. Then David spoke, his voice low, even, and sharp enough to slice through the air. Well, Richard, he said smoothly, I suppose it is nice. Nice to know I don't need to humiliate my spouse to feel like a man. The room froze. Forks paused halfway to mouths. A ripple of silence spread across the table, reaching every corner. Richard's smirk collapsed, his face reddening under the weight of eyes now turned on him. David didn't stop there. He leaned forward slightly, his tone still calm, deliberate. You see, a man's worth isn't measured by how loudly he boasts or how many people he can belittle at a dinner party. It's measured by respect. And from where I'm sitting, you seem rather bankrupt. Gasps escaped the table. Someone coughed to hide a laugh. Richard opened his mouth, but no words came. For once, the man who always had the final say had nothing. David took a sip of water, placed the glass down gently, and continued as if he were giving advice rather than delivering a fatal blow. You might run a company, Richard. But leadership isn't about power, it's about dignity. And tonight, you've shown none. The silence that followed was heavy, almost electric. All around us, people avoided Richard's gaze, their loyalty cracking as they replayed David's words in their heads. The humiliation Richard had tried to pour on my husband had backfired spectacularly. Richard finally forced a laugh, hollow and weak. Well, I was just joking, of course. David tilted his head, unblinking. Yes. But some jokes reveal more truth than you'd like, don't they? And with that, he leaned back in his chair, completely at ease, as if he'd just commented on the weather. The CEO, red-faced and trembling, muttered something about needing to check on the catering and stumbled away, leaving a trail of whispers in his wake. The rest of the night, people looked at David differently, not as the quiet husband in the background, but as the man who had silenced the most powerful voice in the room with nothing but calm truth. Later, in the car on the way home, I reached for his hand. Do you know what you just did back there? I asked, still buzzing with adrenaline. David smiled faintly, his eyes on the road. I didn't do anything special. I just refused to let a small man make me smaller. And that was the night I realized something. Respect doesn't come from titles or wealth or power. It comes from the strength to stay calm when others want you to break. Richard had tried to humiliate my husband in front of everyone. But David's cold reply left not just the CEO silent. It left the entire room remembering who the real man was.